And that is why tariffs are stupid.
Well, I think when it comes to President Trump, it's clear that he respects strength. And I think that Canadians right now, because of what's going on with the tariff war that the US launched against us, Canadians are mad. We're insulted about all this rhetoric regarding the 51st state and our former Prime Minister being called governor. So we think that...
I wasn't insulted. I thought it was hysterical.
That's unacceptable, and that's why it is important that the new Prime Minister sends a clear message, unites Canadians, and more we're united, more will win.
Okay, good day. Welcome to the Great White North, aka Canadian Corner.
How's it going, eh?
Bob McKenzie, this is my brother Doug. Today our topic is dog scoops.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
So, gang, is it a trade war or is this a negotiation? What is a tariff? Indeed. There are many questions that we're going to try to answer in this video. Melanie Joly, Doug Ford, Dominique LeBlanc, Donald Trump, Mark Carney. What a mess we have. Let's get into it. Let's take a look and listen to what's been going on in Canadian federal politics. It's starting to look like maybe Doug Ford made some right moves. Donald Trump is rolling back, it would seem. Let's look.
A little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominique LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. There's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward.
The last thing I want to be is controversial on here, but I kind of like Trump. It's a weird thing because, like, if I'm around my mom and her friends, they get visibly upset when they're talking about Donald Trump. They hate this guy. They can't see the forest for the trees. Like, it's very confusing to have a guy that is this, I guess the word is polarizing. Like, he puts people on one end of the magnet or the other. Like, there's no in between with Donald Trump. It wouldn't seem to me. Doesn't make sense. I'm sort of an in-between type of guy. So I'm in between on Trump. I kind of like him. He's very funny. Like, some people just can't get over Donald Trump. I don't know why that is.
As you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did, and he's not going to do that, so I respect that. But we were just informed that he's not going to do that.
Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
At that, but probably so, yeah. He was a gentleman. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
Tesla stock is
You're
also...
going to have drops and markets are going to go up and they're going to go down.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have to rebuild our country. Our country has been stripped of its jobs, of its factories. And I'm tired of seeing where they build...
What is a tariff? I've got a couple of videos here to show to explain what a tariff is. One's really cute and funny. The other one is more textbook, but
What came first, the chicken or the trade war? Until the 1960s, chicken was considered a delicacy in Europe. But due to America's ability to farm more efficiently, chickens were produced much more inexpensively in the US and then imported into Europe, driving down the overall market value of chickens. And this made life better for most people, except for a small minority, the European chicken industry. Big chicken at it again. So a number of European countries imposed a tariff on chickens to protect their chicken industries. This not only hurt the general population, which now had to absorb the higher cost of chickens once again, it also hurt chicken producers in the US. As a result, 1961 to 1964 was known as the Great Chicken War. At the time, this was such a pressing issue that Senator William Fulbright interrupted a Cold War-era NATO nuclear disarmament debate to shift to another topic: trade sanctions on US chicken. German Chancellor Konrad Adenauer reported that half of his correspondence with US President John F. Kennedy was over chickens. Ask not what chickens can do for you. Ask what you can do for chickens. Because we're a country of the chickens, by the chickens, and for the chickens, the US had to retaliate, so President Johnson imposed a 25% tariff on potato starch, dextrin, brandy, and light trucks. Harvard professor Robert Z. Lawrence wrote, "The chicken tax crippled the US automobile industry by insulating it from real competition in light trucks for 40 years. So, in the end, countless resources were wasted, and it's harder for Americans to get trucks, all because some Europeans got their feathers ruffled over cheap American chicken. And that is why tariffs are stupid."
That video was a little simple, but pretty funny at the same time. Now we're going to look at simple and not funny. This is Foreign Minister Melanie Joly. Whatever. Get some sleep, girl. Check her out.
You have any questions? All of us go to Florida. We don't.
Oh yeah, baby, let's go to Florida, gang.
We talk about trade, but we also talk about Ukraine. We also talk about geopolitics. And Marco is coming next week to Canada because we're having our second foreign ministers meeting in Charlevoix in Quebec. And we want to keep the G7 unity. Now, Rubio is somebody that I have a very constructive relationship with. And he has not used necessarily that threatful rhetoric when talking with me, but others have. The problem we have is, first...
And that is why tariffs are stupid.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
Pretty big fan of Rebel News right here. Love all of their reporters. They do a bang-up job at what the indies, I guess, have to do to get the information out there. What a weird time in Canada. Go Rebel News.
Well, the fix is in. Canada's next Prime Minister was just anointed behind closed doors in a questionable race. Trudeau's usefulness has run its course. He's just not cute anymore. So the elites have moved on, and they've chosen their new golden boy, Mark Carney. That's why we're launching thecarneyfiles.com, your one-stop shop for everything the establishment and the legacy media don't want you to know about the next to sit upon the liberal throne. Because while the mainstream press is polishing off their puff pieces, we're doing what they refuse to, exposing the real Mark Carney. And trust me, there's a lot to expose. This isn't just some mild-mannered banker turned politician. Carney was the man whispering in Trudeau's ear for the last 5 years. All those things the Liberals did to us, that was him. From lockdowns to tax hikes to overspending to even electric vehicle mandates. Carney is Trudeau 2.0, but more dangerous. He's the hand-picked globalist successor to Trudeau. A man whose loyalties don't lie with Canada, but with the unelected power brokers who pulled the strings from Davos at the World Economic Forum and at the UN. Remember, Carney's a self-described European with 3 citizenships.
Mark, you look like you were about to...
yeah, it was a tell.
As a European, as a As a European, I am a European,
European.
actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Irish citizen. Yeah. So there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European,
We're talking about a man who has spent his entire career pushing the very policies that have gutted the Canadian middle class.
So I think at the beginning of this video I said Dominique LeBlanc would be included in this video. We're gonna cut him out.
Come on now, cut.
No
it
time for
out.
that guy. Let's go for the textbook definition of what a tariff is. It's so much in the headlines, right? Like, what is a tariff? Let's take a peek. I think that other explanation was a pretty good one, but this is a little more textbook. Anyhow, my name's Aaron, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Please leave a comment. Love the comments. That's it. Come and join one of the live shows. We have a great time here. It's a fun community of people that are looking for change and wondering why we can't find it. That's it. They're going to ban X. That's their next plan. What a weird time. Man, oh man. Anyhow, Aaron, Canadian Looney, thank you for watching this video. We'll get you in the next one. Melanie Joly talks with her hands. I know that I do that as well. I hope my hand gestures aren't as annoying as hers. I don't know what else. That's it. Catch you next video. Later, gang.
A tariff is essentially a tax on goods and services that are imported. The purpose of a tariff is generally to protect the product or service that is domestically produced. Here are the basics of how a tariff might work. Let's imagine that country A produces widgets, and country B produces similar widgets. Country B is able to produce their widgets for $10 each, while in country A it costs them $14 to produce their widgets. Well, in an effort to get more business, the manufacturers in country B decide to sell their widgets in country A for just $13 a widget. As you can imagine, this isn't good for the manufacturers in country A. Now they can't sell their widgets for a profit. Well, business begins to slow for the manufacturers in country A, and because business is slowing, they must let go of some of their workers. Well, the government in country A doesn't like this, so they decide to impose a tariff on all widgets that are imported into country A from country B. They are going to charge $5 per widget to all imports. Well, now the manufacturers in country A are thrilled. They can sell their widgets for, let's say, $15 a widget, and the competitors in country B can't beat their price. So that is essentially how a tariff works. Now the real question is this good or bad? Well, for the widget manufacturer in country A, it's a great thing. They were losing money before with no real way to compete, but now they're selling their widgets again for a profit, and they can hire again and their business is growing. So what about potential negatives? Well, one potential negative is retaliation by country B. Perhaps country B is upset by this widget tariff, and perhaps they put their own tariff on, let's say, chickens that are imported into their country from country A. And also, let's imagine that there's a lot of chickens that get shipped from country A to country B. Well, this could be the beginning of a trade war. And although it often takes a long time for trade wars to play out, there tends to be many losers and only a few winners in a trade war. Another consideration is the end user. You might hear an argument saying something like that country A manufacturers were taken off the hook. Instead of country A manufacturers having to innovate or cutting costs to compete with the manufacturers in country B, instead the government stepped in. So what about the end user? The people or companies that bought those widgets before used to pay just $13 per widget, thanks to the imported widgets. But now it's costing them $15 a widget, which makes their expenses higher. So are tariffs good or bad? Well, you decide, since it seems that the answer to that question depends on who you ask.
Cut it out. Get out of here.
And that is why tariffs are stupid.
Okay, good day. Welcome to the Great White North, aka Canadian Corner.
How's it going, eh?
Bob McKenzie's my brother Doug. Today our topic is dog scoops.
Sorry. Thank you. That's all the time we had for this morning. Merci, c'est tout le temps que nous avions pour la conférence de presse ce matin. All of us go to Florida. We don't.
Let's go to Florida, baby! In Canadian federal politics, the Canucks are represented by two separate yet unequal groups. The globalists who sold out and the opposition trying to salvage a country. These are their stories.
And that is why tariffs are stupid.